Your attention, please. Every now and then, Hot Wampa, science fiction and general chatter podcast will release an episode that features topics of conversation of a more mature nature and or occasional use of profanity in context. This is one such episode. If you have your parental settings enabled in iTunes or your generic podcatcher of choice, this episode should not even be visible to you. If you have said parental settings disabled in iTunes or your generic podcatcher of choice, then this episode will be both visible and available to download or stream to you, and should feature a capital E next to the episode listing, informing you that it features potentially explicit content. We have no control over your individual settings with the service you use to listen to Hot Wampa. If you're currently listening to us whilst running the mother-in-law and kids into Mos Eisley in the family land speeder, then you may wish to pause now and resume listening at a more convenient time. For those of you of a less nervous disposition, please enjoy the rest of the podcast. You can go about your business. Move along.
Oh, helmet wax. How did you know? I've been running low. I like this brand.
This is Guy Trussell and you are listening to Hot Wampa.
Ciao, this is Carmela
and Paola from Rome.
You are listening to Hot Wampa.
From the Shire to your earpieces.
Hot Wampa. All you need to know sci-fi.
Hey guys, Amber here and you're listening to Hot Wampa.
Hello Wampers, Stephen Waterhouse here. Love the show.
Hello from science fiction author Lancer Kind. Tune your smart device to retransmit Hot Wampa for some truly deep commentary on science fiction cinema.
Hi, my name is Mihaela Jembey. I'm from Moldova and you're listening to Hot Wampa.
Attention! No Ewoks were harmed while making this episode of Hot Wampa. Oops.
Okay, Hot Wampa episode 43, XLIII, I believe.
I don't think we got that far in Roman numerals at school, did we?
I don't think I ever got farther than 4IV, to be honest with you. Quite a bit to go in the episode, not too much in housekeeping. I do want to give a quick nod here to Hot Wampa listener Stephen Waterhouse. He sent us a link on the 1st of March, Darth Vader in Love, which was a YouTube video. I think you've seen it, haven't you, Mark?
Yeah, I've seen it too. It's quite humorous.
Yeah, what's the name of the guy's show that clip's taken from? Peter Serafinowicz?
That's the guy, yeah, who's pretty well known to Star Wars fans, isn't he?
Yeah, I could see the name in front of me, but I didn't want to try and pronounce it because it's one of those names that an Anglo-Saxon shouldn't be able to pronounce. It's just, yeah. So we've included a little, just to give Stephen his nod and say thank you for sending that our way. It's an interesting video. It is very funny. We'll put the links and the metadata, and I've included a little bit of the audio from the intro from that particular video into our intro today for Hot Wampa. So cheers, Stephen, for sending that one our way.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. He was Darth Maul, wasn't he? And he was the voice of Darth Maul in episode 1.
Isn't he a Scottish actor?
No, he's from Liverpool. But he was in Shaun of the Dead as well. He's 1.95, so he's quite a tall chap.
Uh-huh. Oh, I didn't realise that. Oh, that's his own show, is it?
Yeah, so he's got his own website as well, which is peterserafinowicz.com.
Okay, so he's the guy that says, "At last we shall reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we shall have our revenge on the balcony to Palpatine."
That's right, yeah. So I don't know why they didn't let the usual guy do it. Sorry, what's his name? Played Darth Maul.
Ray Park.
Ray Park. Sorry, Ray. Oh.
I think he's got quite a strong.
I've seen him a couple of times.
He's got quite a strong Cockney accent, though, isn't he?
He has. I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he spent years working on a building site, so I don't know, how would that go? Yeah, Palpatine. So I don't know. I mean, I can't imitate it. I'm not even going to try to.
You've got a bit Dick Van Dyke there.
Yeah, it was definitely Dick something.
At last we will have our revenge.
Yeah. I think, like you've said earlier, I think Joseph has pretty much set the agenda for this episode of Hot Wampa, because we've got Enemy Mine coming up in Showcase, and Joseph has even sent us a bit of content that we'll be discussing and debating in local news. So cheers, Joseph. Yeah. Nothing else really in housekeeping other than we're using a different recording technique this week, or trying to. I'm using a virtual mixer, which is a new concept to me, as opposed to using third-party apps. I mean, that's what we've been recording on Skype through recently. This has a lot more potential for a lot more functionality that hopefully we can get more features into the podcast. Unfortunately, I can't separate audio tracks in it, so if me and Mark make mistakes, I might not be able to get them out like I've been able to on previous episodes. So it's kind of going to have to go as it is. I mean, this is a trial for us, so you're going to have to go easy on us as listeners. Nothing much more in housekeeping to discuss, I don't think. We might as well get straight into some Star Wars news.
Let's do it.
Okay, do you want to bring up the first one about our pop connection to The Last Jedi?
Yeah, well, in the UK there was a famous band in, what were it, 1990s?
Well, can I just pause you a minute?
Yep.
Do you want a bit of Take That in the background while you narrate this?
Go on then.
Yeah,
it would be magic.
Yeah, could it be magic? Okay, because the reason I say this is because I've looked in a lot of online forums since this news was announced, and it would seem that a lot of our American cousins don't have a clue who Gary Barlow is, which is actually a small mercy that I'm envious of them for, that they've never been exposed to him. So that's not a bad thing if you're ignorant of who Gary Barlow is, believe me. Anyway, carry on, Mark.
Okay, so Take That were a popular British band, boy band in the 90s. I don't know, how many? Were there 4 members? 5 members? It's gone up and down over the years, as a lot of these ensemble bands do.
Yeah.
But Gary Barlow kind of went on to be... He was the voice of the band, wasn't he? I mean, he wasn't the best looking guy or the best dancer, but he's obviously the singer-songwriter who continued his career after Take That. So we know him in the UK for series like The Voice, and he's been on X Factor, and there's another one he does now. Anyway, but he revealed that he has a cameo in The Last Jedi, which to our American cousins you might feel, well, who is this guy and how does he get in one of our much-loved sagas? But he's been included with the actor Tom Hardy, and Princes William and Harry expected also. So I don't know, I feel a bit strange about all these celebrities or minor celebrities or royalty getting parts in our loved franchise. What do you think about that, Dave?
I think it's a bit ironic. If we take the prequels, and we know the quality of the prequels was a little bit up and down and questionable compared to the original trilogy. I think most people will agree that. I mean, obviously that's subjective to people's own opinions and tastes. But if you look at the actors involved in the prequels, I mean, come on, Ian McDiarmid, Ewan McGregor, Samuel Jackson. I mean, these are guys that can turn a performance, yeah? They're very good actors, yeah?
Even Terence Stamp. I guess Natalie Portman, won the Oscar, didn't she? So
the list can go on, can't it?
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, I mean, come on. So we're talking about some extremely good actors that you could give a serious or critical dramatic role to, and yet the quality of the films was a little bit up and down. Yeah. Now Disney have got Star Wars, and I think we can agree that, we're kind of happy with what we're seeing with The Force Awakens and Rogue One.
So far, yeah, it's all good.
So the quality of the filmmaking is good, but they're not bringing in the better actors. They're kind of throwing these people in because they can. I mean, I know that Daniel Craig had a cameo as a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens, even though apparently Daniel Craig still denies that. But then he's 007. He's not going to blow his cover, is he?
No.
But he does have a cameo. It's a scene where Rey tells him to drop his weapon and leave the room. That's Daniel Craig. You can actually hear the voice if you listen to it carefully enough. But he's an actor, so in a way I don't kind of mind that. But I don't know, bringing these guys in is a case of doing it just because they can. I mean, are they going to be a masked role, do you think, like a stormtrooper or a bounty hunter with a helmet or a mask on or something like that?
Well, I guess he was working at London's Pinewood Studios where they were filming much of The Last Jedi. and he appeared on Good Morning, was it Good Morning Britain or ITV's Lorraine? Well, I can't believe we're talking about Lorraine on our podcast. You know, this small Scottish woman that's been around forever. But anyway, she had an interview with Gary Barlow and presenter Ross King, and he said, "I'm not a stormtrooper, but I am in it." So that's all he's confirmed so far. Then he went on to say, "Now I've said that, I'll probably be cut out. I think the Star Wars people are so strict about what information is divulged. So me saying that, I've probably just done myself out of a role."
Well, that's no bad thing. They can edit him out, can't they?
Yeah, surely.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it. You know, I kind of think if you're going to have a cameo, fine, but at least do it with someone who's an actor and not a dire actor from supermarket Christmas commercials in the UK or from a much forgotten about boy band and all the rest of it. I mean, he didn't really go on to be the most sort of famous or notable one from Take That. I mean, I would argue that was Robbie Williams.
Yeah, another one probably a lot of our overseas listeners don't really know. But yeah, he was on the BBC the other day. I was just turned it on. There was Gary Barlow with two other members of Take That. And he walked off the set because he was feeling ill. So that was a bit of a shock. That's live television for you, I guess. The Prince William and Harry cameo is apparently the rebel characters are in a lift with Benicio del Toro's character when a group of stormtroopers enter, two of whom are William and Harry. So those two are stormtroopers. But I forgot about Benicio del Toro, and I'm really interested in what he's going to do in The Last Jedi. So... a lot of speculation.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the notes on that I've got are from The Guardian, but so you can take that as you wouldn't take that as gospel because they're accusing the Force Awakens composer of being Michael Giacchino when, of course, it was John Williams. But they talk about Warwick Davis, who's had cameos in this, that, and the other. And it sort of kind of confirms something you said before, whose first film role was as an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, made a cameo appearance as another Ewok character. So perhaps there is an Ewok somewhere hidden in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But Warwick Davis has also confirmed that he will appear in The Last Jedi. There you go. It'll be released on the 15th of December, and it'll be followed by as a yet untitled film in 2019, while a spin-off about the young Han Solo will be released in May 2018. So there you go.
A bit about that quickly, Dave. I read recently as well that Han Solo isn't the character's real name. That was the name that he was given, and I never realised that until recently. So, and we speculated whether Woody Harrelson is sort of his mentor and gives him that name before he goes out on his own with the Millennium Falcon, or to swindle old Lando at the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, there's an interesting story. I mean, I have read somewhere else online that Woody Harrelson isn't going to be playing the character of Gareth Shrike anymore. He's going to be playing somebody else who was prominent in Han Solo's past. How do you get a name like Han Solo? Somebody walk into your bedroom when you're a teenager or something?
I'm over here, Dad. Yeah. As the old joke goes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Last Jedi coming up first in the winter. I'm sure that after the celebration in Orlando, we're going to get a lot more sort of news about not only the films, but I guess also the TV series, which has been mooted around. Updates on Rebels, where that's going and how long it will last for, etc.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this one I've got from the Blue Lives Matter news website, which I guess is referring to police officers.
Yeah.
It's dated March the 25th, 2017. South Carolina man uses lightsaber to stop knife attack. Now, you know this is going to be good from that opening line alone, don't you?
Yeah.
Rock Hill, South Carolina. A man in South Carolina found himself in the middle of an epic battle last week against the dark side of his 17-year-old stepdaughter, Kayla Knapp. According to the Charlotte Observer, on March the 16th, a fight broke out between a man and his stepdaughter late last Thursday at an apartment off Celanese Road in Rock Hill. Responding officers came upon a strange scene as they investigated what appeared to be a physical altercation between the two, which involved knives and a toy lightsaber from Star Wars. Law enforcement interviewed witnesses and learnt that Kayla Knapp had gotten into an argument with her stepfather before grabbing two kitchen knives and going after him.
Wow.
Channeling a Jedi, her stepfather grabbed a nearby toy lightsaber to ward off the slash attempts and strike his attacker multiple times, winning the fight. Emergency medical personnel were called to the scene to treat both parties. Naylor Knapp was arrested and charged with assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. The moral of the story is never bring a knife to a lightsaber fight. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it just shows you can use whatever's around you, but if you make yourself look a bit more cool, grab the lightsaber.
Nothing's cooler than fighting off a knife attacker with a lightsaber. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. It's almost a local news type story, that one.
Well, the name, what was the name?
Kayla Knapp, spelt with K's.
Kayla Knapp. That's like a Star Wars character in itself.
Yeah, Kayla Knapp's like a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. So there you go. I haven't really got much more on Star Wars. I know the Rebels episode, Twin Suns. I have seen it. I've seen it about a week ago. I hadn't realised it, but my trusty old Skybox had actually recorded a lot of the season 3 episodes, and that one was in there as well.
Perhaps it's like telepathy. You just sort of think to the box and it'll record it for you.
I was a little bit disappointed with it, to be honest with you.
I haven't seen it in full, but I know a lot of people online said the same.
Yeah, I mean, the crew of the Rebels, I mean, they don't really have the crew of the Ghost, the main sort of cast of Rebels, as it were, characters. They don't really have much to do in the episode, other than Ezra goes to Tatooine to trace Darth Maul. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. It's been out long enough and people talk about it on the internet, so tough. Darth Maul has a run-in with Obi-Wan Kenobi. The lightsaber fight's over in about 3 moves and Maul gets killed. That's no more Maul. Finito, kaput for Maul. And that's about the size of it, really. I mean, the crew from Rebels, or the character from Rebels, didn't even really need to be in the episode, to be honest with you.
Well, that's a shame. But let's see what some of our listeners think and get back to us. But I agree with what you've said and what I've seen. It wasn't the best episode of Rebels. It was just the nostalgia element, I think, that attracted the people.
Yeah, I haven't seen the season finale yet. I'm going to check my Sky Plus later on to see if hopefully it's recorded that, because it's recorded everything from about the sort of mid of the season, sort of episode 12, 13, right through to Twin Suns so far. So I've kind of been having a bit of a backtrack and rewatching those. I did watch one recent episode. I think it's 2 or 3 episodes ago. You'll have to forgive me because I can't recall the episode's name off the top of my head. That featured Mon Mothma as a character in it. And basically it was, I don't know quite how, she was the cargo for the Rebels crew to smuggle away from the Empire. And it was really good. They had the Ghost going around in this nebula with the Imperials chasing them around. I thought it was a bit like the Wrath of Khan at one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all sort of gas clouds, and the Imperials are after Mon Mothma and the Ghost crew, and there's Y-Wings trying to defend the front. And that was a really good episode.
I saw some stills and the actual animation and the visualization of Mon Mothma looked fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good, I have to say that much. No complaints about it, so that's where I am with Rebels at the moment. It's not something I kind of watch live in the moment like a lot of Star Wars fans do.
Was that the episode Secret Cargo?
Yes, it might well have been. Have you got your screen up in front of you?
Yeah, I've just got it up here, and she's portrayed by Genevieve Riley, who plays her in Rogue One, and also is it Revenge of the Sith? She appears.
Yeah, she's. I don't think she's in the film Revenge of the Sith much. She's certainly in a lot of the deleted scenes, though. For people that want to go back into the DVDs and check the second bonus features disc, she's there. Along with Jimmy Schmidt more as Bail Organa, although he featured in the film quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's really where I am, and mostly all I've got on Star Wars.
Okay, I've just got one more, which has been provided by Stephen Martin, a regular listener, and I think we spoke about it briefly in the week, Dave. It's this Jawa toy, which fits in quite well with Guy Trussell's interview recently. Star Wars Jawa toy in record £10,000 sale. A Star Wars toy bought for a quid, which is £1 in old money, 40 years ago has sold for £10,200. The seller was just 8 when he got the 4-inch plastic Jawa figure with brown vinyl cape. Makers Palitoy and Kenner soon withdrew the cape and replaced it with a cloth one. The fan never opened the packaging. He's not a real fan, is he, at that age? The package, after buying it at the backup market Lancashire in the late 1970s. I had a friend who, I think, told me about the Jawa. I had no idea he knew how much it was worth. The figure has never been opened, out of my possession, or altered in any way. The figure went to an overseas buyer, and the seller added, I hope they value just how rare it is. So there you go. The sale is a record for a Star Wars figure. licensed in Italy through Harbour Toys in the UK anyway. But the actual international record, I believe, is around £26,000 for Boba Fett figure. I believe it's the one with the rocket pack where you could launch the rocket.
Yeah, I think that particular one got withdrawn from sale because, I don't know, it was the beginning of health and safety culture, and people were worried that children would lose an eye or something from a spring-loaded rocket launcher in a toy. £10,000 though. You imagine that someone buying you an action figure for £1 when you were 8 years old, saying, hang on to that, because in 40 years' time, mate, that'll pay off your mortgage.
Yeah, no, that's quite a bargain. I think I was paying about £1.50 at the time for figures.
I'd have brought a job lot of them.
Yeah.
And only released one on the market every 2 or 3 years or something to keep the value up.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, have this guy Trussell got that particular one?
I know he's got Jawa, but I guess it's not the £10,000 one. He would know, probably. If you're a collector, you would know, wouldn't you?
He would almost certainly know. I bet he's probably got the cloth cape one that came out later on.
Yeah, I mean, those vinyl capes, I remember Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader had those, and they weren't not very pliable and not much fun to play with. I guess the cloth ones were much better.
Well, I think the vinyl sort of ones, they kind of split around the holes the arms went through, didn't they, after a period of time? So they'd sort of, you'd have it held onto your action figure on like one shoulder. It was more like a pauldron or something than a cape or a toga or something. But yeah, I mean, like you say, they weren't all that durable for the time and what have you. But yeah, I mean, it certainly sounds like this one's worth its money.
Well, check your toys, kids. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I should imagine when it's been opened, it's probably still got a fair value to it if it's in good condition.
Yeah, must be.
Yeah, I mean, so the £10,000 Jawa, there's a headline to go on our album art. Okay, should we get on and do some showcase?
Okay.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to hear some serious shit. This is Hot Wampa.
Okay, thanks to Joseph for this one again. And Showcase, and I'm going to have to read this one live because we've been a bit short on time recently, so everything's going live into the show. Showcase is Enemy Mine, which is a 1985 American science fiction film directed by Wolfgang Petersen and written by Edward Kamara, based on Barry B. Longyear's story of the same name. The film stars Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. as a human and alien soldier respectively, who become stranded together on an alien planet and must overcome their mutual distrust in order to cooperate to survive. The film began production in Budapest in April 1984 under the direction of Richard LeCrane, who quickly ran into creative differences with producer Stephen Friedman and executives at 20th Century Fox. The project was shut down after a week of shooting. Petersen then took over as director and reshot LeCrane's scenes after moving the production to Munich. Originally budgeted at $17 million, the film ultimately cost more than $40 million after marketing costs were factored in, and was a box office bomb during the 1985 holiday season, earning only a little over $12 million. It gained a cult following afterwards. Plot summary to Enemy Mine. In the late 21st century, an interstellar war between the humans, associated as the Bilateral Terran Alliance, or BTA, and the Drax, a sentient bipedal reptilian humanoid race, is fought. Battles are periodically fought between fighter spacecraft, and no human pilot hates the Drax more than Willis E. Davidge, played by Dennis Quaid. During one such battle, Davidge and Drac pilot Jeriba Shigan, played by Louis Gossett Jr., engage in a dogfight which results in both crash landing on, Firin 4?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, an alien world uninhabited by intelligent life, with 2 moons, a breathable atmosphere, water, native fauna, and a hostile environment. After initial hostilities, the two eventually learn to cooperate to survive. They work together to build a shelter for protection against meteorite storms, a natural phenomenon that periodically strikes the planet. Over the next 3 years, they overcome their differences, become friends, and learn each other's languages and cultures. Each saves the other's life several times. Davidge, haunted by dreams of spaceships landing on the planet, leaves in search of help. He finds evidence of humans, but learns that the planet has only been periodically visited by human miners known as scavengers, who use Drax as slave labour. He returns to warn Jariba, nicknamed Jerry, only to discover that Jariba is pregnant. It is revealed that Dracs reproduce asexually. A blizzard and an attack by an indigenous predator forces Davidge and Jariba to flee their shelter. To pass the time, Jariba teaches Davidge his full lineage. Jariba later slowly dies in childbirth, but not before making Davidge swear to take the child back to the Drac homeworld and recite his full ancestry, so that he can join Drac society. Davidge raises the child, Zamis, played by Bumper Robinson. Davidge and Samus form a very close bond, and the young Drac loves Davidge as any sentient child loves a parent, despite referring to Davidge as uncle. One day a ship flies overhead and Davidge goes to investigate. However, Zamis is curious and follows. He is discovered by a pair of scavengers. Davidge attacks the men, but Zamis inadvertently stands between Davidge and one miner, and Davidge is gunned down. Later, a BTA patrol ship finds Davidge apparently dead and returns him to his base space station. On the station, during an impersonal funeral ceremony, Davidge suddenly awakens, and when a disposal technician tries to steal the book Jerry gave him years before to learn the Drac language. Davidge's old team vouch for his loyalty even after they find he speaks the enemy's language fluently. Davidge is later reinstated to duty, but not as a pilot, as his superiors want to make sure he is not being brainwashed by the Dracs. Unable to get help in rescuing Zamis, Davidge steals a spaceship to find the child by himself. He manages to find a scavenger ship and sneak aboard. Davidge speaks to the Drac slaves in their own language as he searches for Zamis. The slaves know who Zamis is and realise that Davidge is uncle. Davidge enters the facility and fights with one miner after another. I should point out, when I say miner, I mean like coal miner or diamond miner. He's not going around beating the hell out of children or something, okay? So let's just, it's not that sort of film.
Must get that out of my head.
As he searches for Zamis, in the confusion caused by Davidge, the slaves revolt against the miners. Towards the end of the battle, Davidge assisted by the BTA crew who pursued the stolen ship. They realised that whatever it was he experienced while missing in action has made him more human. He no longer hates Dracs. In the epilogue, Davidge and Samus return to the Drac homeworld of Draken for Samus's heritage ceremony before the Drac Holy Council. As he promised Jerry, Davidge recounts the complete Jariba ancestry before the Holy Council in the traditional ritual as he was taught it. The narrator explains that when in the fullness of time, Zamis brought its own child before the Holy Council, the name of Willis Davidge was added to the line of Jariba. Enemy Mine.
Enemy Mine. One of the first films I saw in Sky Movies at my grandparents' house in the late 80s, I think. Realising it was science fiction, I took quite an interest to it. I never read I think it was first published in Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine by Barry B. Longyear. Now, I wanted to like this really a lot because it was sci-fi. Dennis Quaid, I've never been a big fan of Dennis Quaid. He's always been that everyman actor that kind of gets there, kind of gets the roles, but never been a big A star, has he, apart from Inner Space films like that. It's the case, the old trope of the the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. And that features obviously in many films, and this is one of the earliest I saw. Actually has the team up. What struck me particularly, I really like the makeup, Louis Gossett Jr.'s makeup. I understand that took 4 hours each time for his transformation. It has aged, it has dated, but there's a good moral behind it, and I think with good intentions it goes there. I like Wolfgang Petersen as a director, so those kind of things as I've grown and the film's aged, I've kind of come to appreciate. But when I saw it, I think I was 16, no, maybe 15, 14, and it was just a bit of a disappointment because it was more like Two Men and a Baby. Or Waiting for Godot. It was kind of like that, I could see those sort of tropes there.
You're waiting for Tom Selleck and Steven Guttenberg and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that bizarre ghost that was seen in the outtakes.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? What do you think?
I think the story, it's the tried and tested one, isn't it? It's sworn enemies that, they start off doing everything they can to kill each other. They realise that they're an extremely hostile environment and that if they work as a team, there are chances of actually surviving are greater, and they overcome those differences in order to survive. And in the process of doing that, of course, they become friends. that's a tried and tested story. I think it's a good moral of a story, and I like the way it explains both cultures. That I don't know, neither culture really is the evil aggressor. That the understanding between the two cultures and the war that's accounted for is, that's something orchestrated by higher powers, be it government or what have you. And the 2 foot soldiers themselves are actually quite reasonable people who get to learn to know each other, and when they do, they realise that neither one of them is evil, that they are good beings. That's a tried and tested story. It's a good story. I think it's a good moral story. That's the sort of irony of it is, in spending the time with an alien race, Davidge finally discovers his real humanity, I would argue. The real compassion, the real feeling, the real thing that separates us from the animals. And it's also a story that's been referenced, if not before it, if that was a story that wasn't perhaps based on old stories, because it could be a timeless story. It could be a Roman and a Greek soldier stranded together in a part of Africa or something like, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the science fiction context. It could be the same story retold. It has gone on to influence other things. There was even an episode of Star Trek Enterprise released many years later called Dawn, when the chief engineer character, you have to, what's his name? Trip or something like that. Trip Tucker or something like that. He crashed his shuttlecraft on a moon, and there was an alien on the moon, and they were trying to kill each other, but then they learned to work together to defeat the hostile environment of this moon and that. It's a story that has been kind of paid respect to and retold again post Enemy Mine. It's also a story I think that in a way has been touched on before. I've been watching some of the really cheesy old episodes of Battlestar Galactica 1980 on YouTube recently, simply because somebody had uploaded them. It'll only be a matter of time before YouTube discovers they're there and takes them down. So I figured I'd watch them while they were up. And the last episode of Galactica 1980, before that in turn got cancelled, was an episode called The Return of Starbuck, which featured Dirk Benedict coming back. And in that episode, he crash lands on a desert moon. He comes across a crashed Cylon fighter. The Centurions from the fighter are busted up and broken up. He's on his own. He's lonely, so he repairs one of these Centurions as a friend.
I've seen that, Dave. You just brought back a lot of memories with that one. Yeah, I can remember that episode.
Yeah, eventually the Centurion, who he names Sai, he teaches him to play cards or pyramid or whatever they call it, and he develops, the Centurion himself develops a bit of a character, and there's a conversation between the two of them. The Centurion starts to see the senselessness of the war, as it were, when Starbuck explains, well, why do this, why do that, why do the other, and they become friends and rely on each other to survive. Eventually in that episode, the Centurion is killed, but I think at one point it goes off and finds Starbuck a woman. What do you need more than that, really?
He is a real wingman, that old Starbuck, isn't he? Go and find me, get me a drink and find me a nice lady. I'm looking back on tvtropes.org, which is a website I like to use, so when you feel like you know a plot from somewhere before. And you're right, Dave, it does go a long way, actually as far back as Sanskrit, they say. So it goes back a long way in history, that two warriors, wherever they may have been, have sort of ended up working to survive against the elements or other enemies. So Alien versus Predator, which is a film I'd rather forget, but obviously that uses that as well, that premise. What else? Godzilla many times has had to team up with another monster to fight a bigger monster. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Jurassic World, Kroll. Yeah, so numerous films where the plot is very similar.
Yeah.
It's funny you say about Galactica 1980, because Brian James is in this film, isn't he? And he was in Galactica 1980 as well. This is Stubbs, isn't he? Probably best known as Leon from Blade Runner to our sci-fi listeners.
Yeah.
And he was also in Steel Dawn and Cherry 2000, so...
I'm glad you said that, because I watched it last night in preparation for this show, and look, you were talking about the guy that's the leader of the miners.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at him and thinking, what the hell have I seen him in before? And I just could not put my finger on it. And now you said it. Don't tell me about my mother. That guy.
That's it, yeah. And he was born in California.
Yeah.
Died in California. But in a lot of films, he always came out with an English accent. It's sort of a Dick Van Dyke God blimey accent. I don't know why. They often cast him as a Brit. Obviously, in the 80s and 90s, British actors were predominantly bad guys, weren't they?
Well, I think they still are these days, aren't they? I mean, it's an English language that isn't sort of the language of Hollywood, isn't it? So I think the story is tried and tested, and I find a degree of charm in the story as well, and I think both actors do portray that very well. As for realism, I think I've got in my notes here, it's sort of Dan Dare crossed with Fireball XL5. The shape of the spaceships, the Terran spaceships, the human spaceships, this is a bit that sort of classic 50s B-movie Buck Rogers type design ship, isn't it?
Yeah.
You imagine it's like a furry liquid bottle with a fireworks sparkler shoved up the back of it for a smoke effect kind of thing. I think it looks fine in space, the bit where the spaceship crashes and it comes down onto the planet. It does look a little bit slow and a little bit ropey, and you can almost imagine at one moment you can see the strings holding it up or something,
Yeah.
Also, with the creatures on the planet, I know this is pre-CGI and it was props and puppetry and animation and so on, but them armadillo things that scuttle about that they use for shells to make the shells with, and they use as a form of meat to eat. I thought they looked a little bit poor. I thought whilst the pit monster thing that sort of comes up with like the lure or the tongue or what have you to grasp its prey, a bit Sarlacc style, Return of the Jedi there.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great concept for a monster, and I thought it looked okay, and I thought that one works more because you actually saw less of it. Do you know what I mean? I thought that was okay as a valid effect. I thought the special effects of things like the meteor coming down and the meteor storms on the planet was a little bit poor. But against that, the location and landscape effects I thought were pretty good.
Considering a lot, it's in a studio, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of this dusty, barren, volcanic landscape world. I mean, you've got lava fields, you've got like sort of yellow sulfur smoke and pools coming through from the ground.
Yeah.
The Drac, Jerry, his escape pod thing comes down in like a crater, and the bottom of that crater is filled with water that he's swimming. Why he's going for a swim, I don't know. But he's sort of found himself his own sort of leisure activity there when Willis Davidge finds him. I thought that was quite good.
The pond, Dave, where Davidge and Jeriba Shigan, isn't it his full name? Where they meet is the same artificial pond used in Das Boot and The Never-Ending Story, which were both directed by Wolfgang Petersen as well. So, how long he had that same bloody set there in Bavaria studios, I don't know, but I can imagine him saying, hang on, we've got another film coming up soon. We might need that pond. But it was reused in all three films.
The RAF probably made it for him in the first place.
Probably.
There's a pool, isn't there, in the Maze just outside of Cambridge?
Yeah.
There's a farm, and they've got a pond there that's full of carp. And that pond was made from an unexploded German bomb that the sort of Ordnance Corps detonated and made safe on the ground, and it left a crater there, so they filled it up with water and put carp in it.
Oh, there we go.
So it makes you wonder if this was kind of the same sort of thing, but the other way around. Yeah, I think the actual sets in the forest and the snow, and also in the sky as well, when it's kind of got that orange and red sort of effect, and it's sort of sunset and dawn and dusk and the rocky landscape. I think that actually looks quite good, and it does look quite broad and expansive. Shots where they sort of zoom out from Davidge Quaid's character as he's running across it, and he looks a bit like Robinson Crusoe trekking across, that sort of panoramic view. I think the sets and the landscape actually look pretty good, but I think against that, some of the special effects do look a little bit wobbly for the time.
Well, we got a connection here with our previous episode, The Hitchhiker's Guide, because a lot of it was filmed in Lago Verde in the Canary Islands and at Lanzarote, as well as Iceland and the studios in Germany. So, that, as you say, sometimes the scenery does more justice to the film than the actual effects.
Yeah. I think it's not credible that they learn each other's languages so quickly. I mean, could I learn German in 3 years, enough to have a fluent conversation with a... No, exactly. And English and German are much closer than English and Drac.
Exactly.
So that obviously is inconceivable. I also think Lewis Gossett Jr.'s performance, when he's kind of in that transitional language stage where he's speaking both the Drac language and English, and he's obviously got the sort of Drac accent, the sort of trills and the voice and all the rest of it, actually quite for the viewer, makes his dialogue quite difficult to follow because I couldn't interpret a lot of it. Yeah. You pick out certain words. I think it's overdone a little bit upon that. But against that, Louis Gossett Jr., he's a very good actor. He's an established actor, Officer and a Gentleman, the Iron Eagle series, various other roles he's done down the years. I think he's about 80 now. I think this is probably a role that would be outside of his comfort zone, and yet I think he still enjoyed doing it, and he has a pretty good go at it.
Yeah, everything I read points to that he enjoyed the role. I mean, at the time, many people were surprised that he weren't Oscar nominated for this performance. The Academy always sort of award people who make big changes for a role. And this was just certainly that, wasn't he? He was stepping out of his comfort zone.
Very much so. I mean, it's not a bad performance by him. I think he interests me. He owns the screen more than Dennis Quaid does, and he's the one you should be relating to more.
Well, the best thing about having reptilian skin is you don't have to worry about a razor like Dennis Quaid had to, poor bugger.
Yeah, he does go a bit Grizzly Adams there, doesn't he?
It does. The Drac language is actually Russian pronounced in reverse, according to Louis Gossett Jr.
Okay.
And he said that when he was a kid, he used to play with saliva in his mouth and use it in the back of his throat to gargle with, which is what he brought to this role. So, every cloud.
Yeah, that's why I can't understand him then, because he's talking backwards for a load of gob. One of the most prominent and first English words he says is at 22 minutes in when the shelter collapsed and that's shit. So he picks that up pretty quickly in English.
He does. This was a PG-13 in America.
Yeah.
When we got it, it was a 15 in the UK due to the man being shot through the neck with an arrow.
Oh, yeah.
That bumped it up to 15. And probably now you'd get that in a 12 and it would be allowed.
Isn't that guy's death a little bit too clean for you?
Yeah.
He's sort of hitting the neck with the arrow. You see the arrow's passed right through a good half the length of the arrow. And he keels over kind of thing. I wanted him to run around holding the arrow, sort of choking for a bit before he goes down. But he doesn't do that, does he?
No, he doesn't.
So, yeah, like I said, I've got that. It's dodgy special effects, but it's set against brilliant sets and scenery, because I do really think the sets and the scene. I believe it's an alien world. It's not so far out for that. I think it's quite good humoured. I think there's a lot of dry humour between Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid. And that appears quite early on in the film.
What did you think of the music by Maurice Jarre?
I have got a note about that here somewhere. Let me just keep down, because I was kind of scribbling stuff down last night. I've got that the score doesn't really fit in any era. It's not like a Williams sort of, classical score or a theme score. It's kind of a bit bizarre. I mean, the copy of it I watched, the sound quality wasn't that good anyway. It was quite distorted. But it doesn't kind of fit a time or an era I've got. It's a bit bizarre. I think a bit left field, a little bit independent for a score,
Yeah, I agree. And perhaps, I don't know if he's French, the composer. I'm not sure. I've only gone by Jean-Michel Jarre, but it did feel a bit Euro at the time, for that time, not your typical American big sci-fi movie score. It felt a bit Euro, sort of like a Vangelis or a Blade Runner, sort of that kind of thing. Just quite alternative, like you say.
Yeah. I've got that the Dracs are a very spiritual race. I mean, it's effectively the Draconian Bible, I guess, that little book that he carries around his neck that he gives to Quaid. Dodgy sound work. I've got the landscapes look very late Jurassic, sort of very primordial, sulfur and lava, volcanism and so on. So all Dracs must, bearing in mind their asexual reproduction technique, they don't have two sexes, one sex, basically. I guess it clones itself.
Yeah, similar to the Smurfs, I guess.
I don't know. I've never really looked into that, but I'm sure there's probably videos online if you wanted to go that direction. So, given that, all modern Dracs must have descended from a singular Drac, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
would that be the Drachma?
Some of these jokes are getting a bit draconian already. That Louis Gossett Jr.'s dialogue, it can be difficult to understand at times. I think there's a bit of irony and dryness in the impersonal funeral process when it's like a production line, fire out a reef, fire out the corpse next.
Yeah.
That's a bit cynical. That's the sort of thing I'd expect to come up in a sort of Verhoeven movie, wouldn't you?
Well, maybe even on like Vulcan. Well, I guess I don't know. With Spock's funeral, we talked about that, didn't we? And that was quite emotional in the Rafa Khan.
Yeah, but then there's a piece of process there, though, isn't there? I mean,
yeah.
Kirk reads a eulogy. Everyone's brought to attention. The flag is draped across the torpedo tube. It passes the entire crew as Scotty's playing Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, which is an absolutely beautiful piece of music. And then he's fired out with a stream behind him. That's kind of fitting. That's kind of a ceremony and nice, but kind of sort of next, fire out another plastic reef, kick the body out next, you know what I mean? Talk about a production line approach.
Well, I guess that shows how battle hardened they are. They remember they're dead, but they just shoot them out, and then the next one, up to the front line.
Yeah, but it's not like a felt ceremony, is it? It's just a procedure they're going through. They've probably fired out 1 million reefs every day. They're all floating around out there in the vacuum of space.
Reproducing asexually.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, what's anyone fighting for in this world?
Probably a decent razor.
Well, that's true, yeah.
I've got some other facts. Terry Gilliam was offered a chance to direct, but chose to make Brazil instead.
Uh-huh.
I think there was another film we spoke about not so long ago, which was similar. He turned it down for Brazil. The rubber-like track ration balls were made from green jelly, which I guess is quite predictable.
Uh-huh.
But real special, is it? The empty drinks can found by Davidge is Pepsi Cola.
That's right, yeah.
However, in the novel, the empty can is Coca-Cola.
Okay, a bit of product placement, yeah.
There you go. The film takes place over a 3-year period from 2092. So, unlike most of the films we've looked at in recent years, it seems that we've got a way ahead to wait for this one.
Uh-huh.
Actually happen in reality. The film was considered as a possible influence behind Star Trek Beyond, which came out last year, 2016. Anything else? The Midnight Special, which Dennis Craig character sings, is a song by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And that's about it, really. 6.9 on IMDb. I like the running time in this film, 108 minutes, which feels like a decent time. It doesn't drag anyway. It seems to be done pretty well. As you said, Dave, a big box office bomb. It sort of made 10% of its budget, really.
Uh-huh.
Yes, as it became a cult, it made some money back in later years.
Yeah, I guess so. Sort of rental market and stuff.
Maurice Jarre, I've just got up some information about him. Like we were saying, some of the other scores he's put together: The Longest Day, Dr. Zhivago, some really big names. Ryan's Daughter, sort of big Oscar-winning films. Posse, Mandingo, The Man Who Would Be King, which is the great Sean Connery and Michael Caine film with
some oldies there, isn't there?
Yeah, so he died not so long ago, actually, in Malibu, California.
Yeah.
Firefox, do you remember that? The Clint Eastwood film?
Yeah, it's based on the Craig Thomas novel, yeah.
Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
The Mosquito Coast. Gorillas in the Mist.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost. Jacob's Ladder. And that was up to, 2001 was his last score. He died in 2009, aged 84. So that's Maurice Jarre.
That wasn't a bad innings.
No, he's done some great films.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the soundtrack to this is a little bit left field and you don't necessarily see the others. I think maybe Enemy Mine does have a unique look in the space stations and everything, it's, I don't know, it's almost bloody Logan's Run crossed with Total Recall or something. I don't know, it sits in its own place in the look. And then you've got the Dandair human spaceships, the more sort of futuristic looking Drac spaceships. Then you go into this very primal and primitive landscape of the planet where they're stranded on. I don't know, I think possibly part of why it wasn't such a great commercial success could possibly be that it's trying to pull too many elements together and they don't necessarily fit all that well. I don't know.
People often argue about the sort of the character being a biped, just like a human, even though it's obviously very different to a human. It's just another biped. But if it was, I don't know, as a funny-looking, fluffy animal, then it would be such an interesting story, would it?
No, of course it wouldn't, and you'd have trouble fitting the guy in the suit then.
Not Warwick Davis, Dave. He'll get in there in his suit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but you could easily master him. You and Dennis Quaid wouldn't have no trouble sorting him out. I mean, we ambushed him at Celebration Europe. It weren't too difficult.
No, it wasn't.
That scene where I don't know what you would call it, the Drac aviation fuel or what have you, when he tips it into the bottom of the crater the Drac's swimming in and sets that on fire. I thought the bit where the Drac's head comes out of the water and it's all on fire around it, I thought that looked a bit sort of, I don't know, Event Horizon or Pinhead or something like that. I thought that looked a bit like a horror film scene.
Yeah, hence that 15 certificate, I guess, for scenes like that, which were a bit graphic.
Yeah. Overall, I guess we've got to give it a score.
Yeah.
A critically panned and commercial failure at the time of its release. I don't think it's anything exceptional. And I do think it's a little bit clumsy, a little bit disjointed and doesn't fit together brilliantly. But I do think that it has a charm. I think it's a great story. I think you get invested in the characters. I think the acting performances in it are fine, other than the fact that some of the dialogue is a little bit difficult to understand. I think I'm going to be a bit kinder to it, and I think I'll give it an 8.
Okay. I just think the way it's dated, as you said, I like the moral story that sometimes you have to work together. I think that's a timeless story that, yeah, it works. You've got two great actors there. The landscape looks great when it is real landscape. I think some of the studio sets are not too clever. And it's probably right for a remake, probably. I'm going to give it 6.5.
Not quite so much.
No.
No? Okay. Well, like I said, I mean, mine was based on really it's the acting and I think the charm of the story. Okay, then. So I guess we've not got nothing else on Enemy Mine.
No, that's it. Oh, just one other thing. I had a quick scan through the novel Enemy Mine, and there is no mention of miners or mines or any kind of military mines. Apparently that was insisted upon to be in the story, so a US audience wouldn't get confused because of the way the title's presented.
Yeah, the original title works in the way of Enemy Mine, like that's my enemy.
Yeah, but people thought it should have a mine in it. That was in the early scripts. Now that's the title. We need to have a mine in it, but it's nothing to do with mines.
Yes. You know what? Whilst it's obvious to me that's a mine at the end there, they're quarrying for whatever precious metals, what have you. I've never interpreted the title as meaning like an actual mine, like a diamond mine or a coal mine or something like that. I've always entitled to it as in mine, as in my. So I've never gotten confused without even having that explained to me. That's just the way I've always kind of looked at the title and thought of it. Because if you look at the promotional material, the film posters and the front of the DVD and that, it's the two faces looking at each other.
Yeah.
With a bit of a aggressive look on both faces, and underneath the title is Enemy Mine, like these two people are sworn enemies, and it's kind of looking at the minutiae of what those two sworn enemies would be like when just two of them are placed in a contained environment. I never sort of interpreted it as some sort of extraction activity to get gold out of the bedrock or something like that.
Probably sulfur, isn't it? You said there's a lot of sulfur on this planet. So.
There's a match factory. That's what that'll be. Yeah.
Well, it's good to strike up the conversation.
Yeah. You obviously had a bit of a spark of inspiration there that came up.
It just fell out of the book.
Yeah. It soon flickered to death, that one. Okay, we've got nothing else really on Enemy Mine then.
Well, thanks for Joseph, for bringing it up. Because that's what we're all about, aren't we? Including people's ideas and incorporating people's love movies. I hope we talked about it enough for Joseph, and hope we delivered some information that perhaps he didn't know himself. And hopefully some of our viewers who may not have seen it will go out and have a look themselves.
Don't rent it on iTunes though, because it's $3.99 just to rent it.
$3.99.
Can you remember the old days? You could probably go around the May shop and rent it for the weekend for £1.50.
Yeah.
On VHS. I mean, Jesus, $3.99 for a download. You can play once and then it self-deletes.
Well, I always justify things now about thinking about the video arcades at Hunstanton.
Yeah.
And I always justify that. How many 10p's should I put in, and do I get my value worth in time? And that's, the sort of thing I think about when I go to the cinema or rent a movie. So.
Well, yeah, I guess so, if you want to look at it like that. We won't say goodbye to Joseph just yet, because he's got some stuff for us in local news.
Okay.
Should we get on with it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, as just mentioned, this one comes from Hot Wampa listener Joseph Campbell, dated the 25th of March. Now, I blame you for this, Mark, because you said before, that you'd be curious about some of Joseph's local news from Oklahoma. So Joseph has kind of obliged us with that, and he's kind of sent us a list of things. I don't know whether this is kind of, some sort of funny post Joseph's seen about his own sort of area he comes from or anything like that. I'm not quite sure what the origins of this is, so we're just kind of quoting it. So but what it's called is "Here's all you need to know about Oklahoma," and then it's got in capitals "advice for anyone moving to Oklahoma." So if we ever do find ourselves in Oklahoma, Mark, this might be a bit of an indispensable guide to us, I think.
Yeah, it's like a Lonely Planet guide, I guess.
Like a travel guide. Yeah. Okay. At number 1, it says, "Save all manner of bacon grease. You will be instructed later how to use it." What would we use bacon grease for?
Well, I guess bacon grease is good for cooking.
Yeah.
What else is it good for? I'll stop those squeaky doors. You put a bit of grease on it.
WD-40 for that.
Yeah, but maybe if we're stranded on a planet with Lewis Gossett Jr., we don't have any WD-40.
My dad used to use margarine. If he fixed the door right and the latch got stuck in the door, he'd take the door handle apart and smear margarine around inside it and screw it back together and use that.
I've got images of Last Tango in Paris in my head.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando with the margarine. I can imagine. Did your dad used to say, "I'm going to have to floor that"?
Oh. Yeah. Then you go to have some on your toast later and there weren't none because it's all in the door handle. I guess you could use it. I guess it has that practical application. Why we would need that more in Oklahoma than anywhere else in the world, I don't know.
Yeah, I hope we never get to find out that one.
No, I think that's perhaps one that's best left in. Just save it. I don't know, when you have drums of the stuff out the back or what have you. Number 2. Just because you can drive on snow and ice doesn't mean that we can. Just stay home the 2 days of the year that it snows. I guess that's a reflection of the fact that Oklahoma is probably quite a hot and dry climate.
Yeah, and obviously windy, isn't it? So perhaps the weather just blows across.
So perhaps they don't get, 2 days of the year it snows. That's probably 2 days a year more than we seem to get nowadays. We're probably much cooler and a much wetter climate than Oklahoma, but we never seem to get any snow anymore, do we?
No, that's right. I saw a flurry for a couple of hours in early January, and that was probably it.
A little bit of dandruff, and here we are now in April. We're not going to see any now, are we? So
no.
Yeah. So if you do run your car, this is number 3, by the way. If you do run your car into a ditch, don't panic. 4 men in the cab of a 4-wheel drive with a 12-pack of beer, so I guess it's 3 cans each, and a tow chain will be along shortly. Don't try to help them. Just stay out of their way. This is what they live for.
So manly men who want to help out, I don't think that's not a negative, is it?
Well, no, you might be in a tight spot. These guys come along with a pickup truck. You don't have to say anything to, or a 4-wheel drive. You don't have to say anything to them. They just get out, tow you out, smile at you, drink a beer, and then drive off, I guess. I don't know how.
Yeah.
To be abducted by E.T. or something.
I guess the drink driving might be a problem to some people. So
well, so long as they've got you out of the ditch in the first place.
Yeah.
Then they can go off and drunk tow somebody else out of the ditch. We use farmers and tractors do similar work here, don't they, throughout the winter months? They're always towing people out of ditches or people that own Land Rovers and stuff. So I guess it's kind of a similar thing. We don't tend to drink here while we do it, though. That's the difference.
That is true.
Don't be surprised to find movie rentals and bait in the same store. That's number 4. I guess by bait that means like fishing bait.
Yeah, not jowl bait or something like that. Yeah, you're right, Dave. I mean, when you think of some fishing tackle shops around Cambridgeshire, I'm sure, like, if you went to Little Downham, there would be a bait machine or something in a shop where you could buy a newspaper, some bread, and some maggots to take home. I don't think that's too dissimilar.
No, I mean, I'm sure if you're in a sort of smaller rural community, your local shop is going to be your supermarket, stroke video, stroke bait and tackle, stroke hardware. You know, I guess you're going to kind of get those stores that kind of have a little bit of everything because, you know, that's what the community needs.
Yeah.
So long as it's not in the frozen food section, you know, maggots or something in with the hung beef and stuff, all the rest of it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that that'd be too much of a surprise.
Yeah, I guess around here in a rural area, we still find shops that sell bait and as well as newspapers, bread and milk, don't we? We still find that, you know, jack of all trades, these kind of general stores. Which
I think is okay, as long as they're stored safely and separately. I mean, we have we use maggots here for fishing bait, don't we? Quite a lot, and
yeah.
There was a time when you could get vending machines outside petrol stations and stuff filled with tins of maggots, weren't there?
That's right, all different colours and, worms and, casters, things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember you used to have to keep them in the fridge to stop them from going through their transition into casters and then into flies, didn't you?
Yeah. I just imagine someone, Jeff Goldblum in their freezer or something like that.
Because obviously their natural cycle was sort of heat dependent and conditions dependent like that, wasn't it? So you used to get told off for your mum because you're going to put your maggots in the fridge with all the food and everything else.
And especially when you open up the shed for the next spring to go fishing, and you open your bait box and there's just 100 dead flies in there that you to release. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not quite, that's not such a surprise, really. Move on to number 5. Now, this one will interest you, being an English teacher.
Okay.
Remember, Jarl is singular and Jarl is plural. All Jarls is plural possessive. Now, the only difference between the two spellings there is the singular has a capital Y and the plural has a small y.
Okay.
So how would that come out in pronunciation? Because I'm not sure I managed to give that, pay that justice.
I guess the plural.
It's Jarls, isn't it?
Yeah, Jarl. Yeah, like
Jarls. So okay. So if we were addressing a group of people, we'd be saying right Jarls.
Yeah.
Whereas if we was just addressing you, it'd be right Jarl.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the hang of that one. That one's not too bad. Get used to hearing "You ain't from around here, are you?" Well, yeah. I mean, that would stand out like a sore thumb for us, obviously. Second, we open the mouth. I think that's and the fact we're not drinking and driving. I think that we'd be kind of identifiable straight away, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't know. Charitable. Hopefully, the locals would be, give us a beer and invite us in.
Tow us out of the ditch. How far out do you think that rule would apply to from Oklahoma? Would it be the surrounding states? I mean, would they pick it up straight away? Do you think that there wasn't a local?
I guess so. Yeah, I think anywhere sort of like 10 miles out of a city of that size, probably people start getting a bit more rural and a bit more like farming communities, things like that.
I don't know, though, because, I mean, if we take it, let's not worry about the rest of the United Kingdom for the moment, but if we just take England as a snapshot, I mean, how many different accents have we got in England? I mean, you're sort of East Anglian, you're sort of Essex, Hertfordshire, Cockney, your West Country, your Geordie, Cumbrian and Yorkshire, Manchester, Liverpool. I mean, God's sake, I mean, we're talking about quite a tight geographic area, really, aren't we? A couple of 100 miles north, south, probably 80 miles across or something like that. And how many different sort of local dialects and accents have we got just contained within that small area?
Yeah, exactly. And people used to say that in places like London and Liverpool, Manchester, you could travel a couple of streets and people would have different words for different things. It was that diverse.
Yeah.
I guess now perhaps it's people are trying to preserve their local dialects, aren't they, and their local accents. But in the past it was certainly noticeable.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how far away from sort of Oklahoma you would have to travel before that your voice kind of gave you away. Like I said, we would stand no chance, but, would people in the neighbouring states be able to pass themselves? Or okay, if you're yelling at the person driving, this is number 7, if you're yelling at the person driving 15 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone directly in the middle of the road, remember, many folks learn to drive on a model of vehicle known as John Deere, which we would obviously associate, I guess, with tractors.
Yeah.
and this is the proper speed and lane position for that vehicle. I don't know. I mean, we can't have a lot of sympathy for tractor drivers around here, can we? I mean, they're a bit of a bane to our existence to a degree.
Yeah, we do have that problem, don't we, here?
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing about it is obviously they always topple them over on the Meeple roundabout, and there's lots of freebies up for grabbing, and potatoes and carrots and onions and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, we've all gotten stuck behind a tractor, and it's always when you're in a hurry. Why do tractors only ever go out at rush hour? You know,
I have no idea.
Could be middle of the afternoon, 2 p.m. Nobody needs to get nowhere. No, the tractors will be in the yards or the fields. 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 in the morning, what have you. They're out en masse, aren't they? Like a convoy.
Yeah.
One at the front called Rubber Duck or something like that. Yeah, so, I mean, the tractor thing, yeah. Okay, number 8, if you hear a if you hear a redneck say, "Hey, y'all, watch this, stay out of his way," these are likely to be his last words ever. So, I mean, I guess this is symbolic that a guy is going to pull a stunt of some sort.
Yeah, and probably do himself an injustice.
You know, yeah, he's going to show you how to mow your lawn with using just an electrical cable plugged into a socket or something a little bit extreme, a little bit silly, perhaps.
Juggle some rattlesnakes or something like that.
Yeah, or something like that. Oh, I don't know, stick a scorpion under your armpit or something. I'm not sure. Number 9, get used to the phrase, it's not the heat, it's the humidity, and the collateral phrase, you call this hot, wait until August. Heat, it's the humidity. I think that's pretty universal in the English-speaking world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Humidity here in the United Kingdom, while the temperatures are never that high, they're sort of governed by the Gulf Stream as such. It's very rarely in the United Kingdom, people don't realise this, that humidity will drop below 75%. It's always humid here, even when it's cold in the middle of winter and freezing and snow and all the rest of it. It's always humid here. So, I mean, humidity is not a new thing. Humidity with heat is obviously a killer. It's a combination of the two that causes a problem. And I imagine that Oklahoma can get pretty hot in the summer. So that's that one. Number 10, there are no delis, don't ask.
Right.
Was it something like a sandwich deli or something?
Perhaps, yeah. I guess that's what we associate. I mean, deli, what do we think about sliced meat and...
the deli counter?
Yeah.
Tesco's or somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you just kind of have to buy whatever's on offer, that there isn't a choice or a variety of ways you could have it prepared for you. I don't know what that means.
Maybe it's trying to put pompous people who want certain things in their place. You know, asking for some charcuterie and saying, well, this is the ham we've got, and that's all we've got.
Yeah, but in all fairness, if you asked me for that, I'd tell you to get lost.
Okay.
No shop I worked in would sell whatever you just called it, charcuterie ham. Thin slice or gammon joint, that's what you'd get from me.
There you go.
Yeah, at number 11, in conversation, never put your hand on a man's shoulder when making a point, especially in a bar. Well, I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good safety ethos wherever you are in the world, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan on touchy people. Some people are like that, and it can be. I think it is a bit of a personal invasion myself. Number 12, chili does not have beans in it. Does our chili have beans in it?
Well, chili con carne, we usually put kidney beans in it, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what it means. I mean, I don't know, for some reason I've only got in my mind Heinz baked beans. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, that one. Yeah.
Well, I don't know where chili con carne originated from. I consider it probably Mexico, but
yeah, Central America.
With Texas, you know, maybe that's the hotbed of chili production. But I'm not sure, but maybe in Oklahoma they have a different recipe.
Mm-hmm. Number 13, brisket is not cooked in an oven. What's brisket?
Brisket is beef.
Okay.
So perhaps it would be barbecued rather than, you know, your typical Sunday roast.
So they wouldn't sort of roast it in oils or fats or something the way perhaps that we would do. It'd be something that they would perhaps grill or quick fry or something
coals.
like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Number 14, don't tell us how you did it up there. Nobody cares. Okay, so that one's pretty straightforward. So if you did it in a different way and try to say to sort of proud Oklahomans, this is how you should do it, you're going to get put into your place. They're not interested in it. Okay, fair enough. I get that. Number 15, if you think it's too hot, don't worry. It will cool down in December. Obviously quite a long hot summer in Oklahoma. Kind of get on with it, stiff upper lip type thing. Number 16, we do too have 4 seasons: December, January, February, and summer. So obviously there's 3 cool months and the rest of the year it's just hot. Number 17, a Mercedes-Benz is not a status symbol. A Chevy, a Dodge or a Ford is.
Okay, so a proud American sort of car owner.
A good sort of blue-collar, old-fashioned vehicle of labour as opposed to some sort of executive saloon. Yeah, I get that. 18, if someone tells you, don't worry, these peppers aren't hot, you can be certain they are. I think we have a similar thing with curry and balti and stuff, don't we?
Yeah.
If you get someone that's never been to an Indian restaurant in this country and they say, oh, what should I have? Or should I have the korma? I've been told that's mild and good for a beginner. We all pull the same trick. Oh, no, you can have a vindaloo or something, don't we? And we all do it. So I guess and that's kind of in that vein. Number 19, if you fail to heed my warning in number 18 above, be sure to have a bowl of guacamole handy. Water won't do it. What's guacamole?
Guacamole is the mashed avocado with lime juice and tomatoes.
Okay.
It's a typical dressing you might have with a burrito or tacos or enchiladas, something like that.
So this is the sort of, ingestible fire extinguisher as such. This is going to kind of, temper the heat from the peppers.
Yeah, I've never tried it as that, but it might be worth a go.
So it works for Oklahomans in the same way as lager works for us with a hot curry.
Yeah.
Okay, because as we know, water won't cure a hot curry, but you got to get a cold lager, a bit of cold tiger beer or something down your neck, and that will normally do the trick.
Or a slice of cucumber, as the old expression goes.
Yeah, a lot of these are quite culinary. 20, Rocky Mountain oysters are not oysters, don't ask. Well, of course, I'm going to ask, what are Rocky Mountain oysters?
This sounds familiar. I'm going to have a look at this.
I mean, we associate oysters as being a marine mollusk, don't we? It's a shellfish. I wouldn't expect to find one up in the Rockies, would you?
I think it's some kind of offal.
Huh? Do the Rockies run through Oklahoma? That's a good question, isn't it? No, I'm not sure. Yeah. Or does it just literally mean like a rocky mountain as opposed to the Rocky Mountains?
Well, they do have mountains, don't they? But I'm not sure if it is the Rockies. Maybe they're a bit to the east of the Rockies. Okay, hold up. I've got the oysters. Let's have a look. Prairie oysters. It's a dish made of bull, pig, or sheep testicles. Yeah, it is what I was expecting, yeah. And the organs are often deep fried after being peeled, coated in flour, pepper and salt, and sometimes pounded flat. There you go.
Oh, joy. Well,
so it would be a balls up if you ordered it.
You're talking bollocks. Well, wouldn't the content of them all come out when you pounded them flat?
Probably, yeah, but that's probably where you use that fat from earlier to keep them lubed.
That could be a bit of a splatty job, couldn't it? Do you really want to get covered in that?
It depends on the animal, I think. If it's
we're not talking. Well, we're all men of the world. We're familiar with our own yields. We're talking about a bull or something here, aren't we? I mean, you hit one of them things with a mallet, it's got to go for miles, isn't it? That will go to the next state. That's definitely a job to be wearing. Don't ask. I think it's very. I would say add in brackets to that. Don't order either.
No, there's a few other terms such as cowboy caviar, Montana tendergroins, dusted nuts, ball fries, or swinging beef.
Oh.
So yeah, be careful of those.
All of which, that's obvious, really, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, we now know not to ask for those. 21. If someone says they're fixing, this is fixing without a G at the end of it. It ends with the N. To do something, that doesn't mean anything's broken. So I guess that means that somebody's just kind of keen to get on with and do something. Somebody's enthusiastic to do something.
Yeah, that sounds right. Some sort of ambition or something like that.
Yeah. Number 22. That's a bit of a mouthful. Don't even think of nothing to do with the Rocky Mountain oysters.
Okay,
don't even think of ordering a strawberry daiquiri. Is that Daiquiri?
Yeah, daiquiri.
Daiquiri, thank you. What you really mean to say is margarita. Okay, I guess that's like cocktails and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's all cock and balls here, isn't it?
It is. Well, I thought it was going to be more about don't order that, order a beer. I thought that was going to be the next part.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm more confused than ever now. But that was 22 anyway. Number 23. If you don't understand our passion for college and high school football, just keep your mouth shut. Well, again, that's cultural understanding, isn't it? I mean, if something's revered by a group of people, you don't offend them, which is fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I mean, we'd feel the same if sort of a Majesty got run through the grill or something, and you kind of, some things are sacred, you don't touch them, don't you?
Yeah,
as the bull was probably saying before it ended up in Rocky Mountain oysters. Number 24, the value of a parking space is not determined by the distance to the door, but the availability of shade. Well, that's a climate commodity. Like in the desert, water is obviously more valuable there than it is here, where it's in more of an abundance. That makes sense again. Perhaps it's worth parking another 20 metres if when you get back in your car, it's not going to be roasting hot from being sealed up in the sun all day. Good common sense there. Number 25, if you see a slower moving vehicle on a 2-lane road, pull onto the shoulder. That's called courtesy. Okay, if you see a slower moving vehicle on a 2-lane road, pull onto the shoulder. That's cool. I don't get that one.
No, I don't.
Surely the slower moving vehicle should pull over to allow the faster one to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to leave that one a bit open then. Number 26, barbecue is a food group. It does not mean grilling burgers and hot dogs outdoors. So obviously this is, the same as we would consider your carbohydrates, your starches, your fruit and veg. Barbecue is added to that list in Oklahoma. It's one of your daily staples. You've got to get a degree of barbecue into your diet.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love barbecue food. I do. Obviously, it's not all that healthy for you, but you'll always have a lettuce leaf or something with it to make you feel better about it. Number 27, no matter what you've seen on TV, line dancing is not a popular weekend pastime. Well, again, yeah, that's fair enough. I think this whole thing that people from the southern states are all rednecks, line dancers, and that, it is a bit of a stereotype, isn't it? I mean, they're obviously quite well-humoured people because they're able to come up with a list like this, making a joke about it. 28, I think, to us, could be quite controversial. Tea, yeah?
Yeah.
Equals sweet iced tea. There is no other kind.
Well, obviously, the empire was built on tea, as they say.
They tip the decent stuff in Boston Harbour.
Yeah. This is related to temperature, isn't it? And like we were saying, it's dry, humid. Perhaps iced tea is the thing that quenches your thirst if you don't want a beer.
I thought iced tea was a rap star.
He was.
I didn't realise it was a beverage.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was reading a story by Ice-T last week.
The man, not the drink.
The man, not the drink. The former rapper from Los Angeles. And
right.
He was saying that he was sharing some memories because obviously he's an actor now and he's been doing a lot of like Law and Order, things like that.
Okay.
But he shared a memory that he was doing a gig with his band Body Count, which are like hard metal.
Yeah.
And he raps.
This wasn't Songs of Praise, was it?
It wasn't.
No.
And he said there's one guy he always loved to see at his concerts, and that was the late, great Bill Paxton. And
right.
he can remember one gig where Bill Paxton got pull up on everyone's shoulders and crowd surfed at an Ice-T Body Count gig. So there you go. That adds a little bit more mystery to the man.
Yeah. I mean, we are the biggest importer in the United Kingdom of tea in the Western world. I believe the way that we take it is the way that it's drunk in Australia, New Zealand and Canada as well. And I think ours is blended tea, so it's probably a little bit stronger than stuff that you would have as iced tea, I think, isn't it? Because I can imagine black tea just being served cold, could you?
I've drank. Yeah, I've had iced tea many times, but...
not the sort of tea that we have, though. You PG tips or something.
Yeah, I've never made it, so...
You wouldn't have a cup of Yorkshire tea or something cold, would you? Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, I have made it with tea bags like PG Tips and that.
Yeah.
And just the juice of several lemons and a whole lot of sugar, really.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
And it's not too bitter?
No, it's not, no.
Okay, well, I still dispute that. Number 29, everything is better with ranch dressing. What's ranch dressing?
Ranch is like...
It's not the leftovers from the Rocky Mountain oyster, is it? That's not the stock it cooks in.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Yeah.
No, this is a blue cheese mayonnaise dressing.
Okay.
It's used on salad, but people put it all over chips and anything you want, really. And, so it's... I guess similar to ketchup or salad cream probably is the closest we have.
Okay. So it's kind of a posh salad cream.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. 29 useful pieces of information for life in Oklahoma. So thanks to Joseph for that. It was nice to get a little bit of other local news from a different locale. It's all about the spirit of local news as opposed to the geographic region as such, I would say.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get a kind of understanding and that we're not too dissimilar, really, are we?
No, I think we've actually learnt something from this.
Well, I know you have, Dave, and I know what the subject would be.
Yeah. Have you got some local stuff?
Local news. I mean, the only local news I've had a chat with Dave Willers about our sort of friend of the show, Garfield the cat.
Yeah.
After appearing at Little Down on Cats show the other week, he was a celebrity. Many pictures taken of him.
Yeah.
Dave informed me this week that he has actually returned to the Sainsbury's Superstore after quite a long hiatus. Apparently, he was attacked by another cat and didn't want to go out. But so you might well catch Garfield back down at the store, and Dave's quite happy. Obviously, Garfield's perked up a bit, and the cat is back.
So there's well, obviously it wasn't curiosity that killed the cat. Do you think there's a bit of a turf wear there? Turf wear? That's wasn't Tupperware, is it?
Yeah,
there's a bit of a turf war there going on, but amongst the local tomcats or something, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some fur flying down there. So
yeah, they can get a bit territorial, can't they?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah. Okay, then I've got another one.
Go on, him.
Nudist swimming in Ely. It's no April Fool's joke. Okay?
Yeah, I heard about this. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. April Fool's Day jokes can be difficult to spot, but if you see a naturist swimming session poster for the Ely swimming pool for April the 1st, then rest assured, this is no joke. Free naturist swimming... When I say free, I mean the numerical. I don't mean like they're free. You don't have to pay anything to go in there and have a gander. Free naturist swimming sessions are being held in Paradise Pools, and the first is on April Fool's Day. The City Pool is hosting the specialist events in April and May, organised by the Mildenhall Naturist Swimming Club. Malcolm Boorer, club chairman, said it is both good for you and fun. Nothing's better. Oh, well, that's coming from a guy called Malcolm. It is well established that naturism is good for you and that it provides benefits in many ways. General health and well-being, happiness, body attitude, body image, body positive. All of those and much more, but above all, it's fun. First-timers are often nervous.
I can imagine.
But it is incredible how quickly first-time nerves disappear. It is not surprising, after all. It's the natural way to swim. Now then, the club has been using the Mildenhall pool for 15 years, but there are a couple of months when it is not available, which is why they are coming to Ely instead. Mr. Bora said, "We are delighted to be using the excellent pool at Ely instead, as well as making naturist swimming available in a new area." So this really is just skinny dipping in a formal sense, isn't it?
Yeah, and I believe that a lot of the users are older, sort of 50 plus.
Yeah.
And it's worked in the past in Cambridge. They do naked swimming at Parkside Pool. So there are definitely takers around the area that would travel here just for that.
Yeah, it goes on. Ely sessions are being held on Saturday the April the 1st, Saturday April the 22nd and the 20th of May, between 5:05 to 6:30 p.m. Bring a towel and something to identify you.
Like a birthmark. I mean, a tattoo? What do they mean? A redeeming feature of some sort?
Yeah. No, it's what it says on his ID. He swings to the left, hangs to the left. Please Google Mildenhall Naturism while I leave that one to your own risk if you want to do that, Hot Wampa listeners. Email Swim Mildenhall at naturism.org.uk or phone 07946886843 for further information. Where do you hang the keys for your locker?
I know. I don't know what you do. And then what do you turn up in? I mean, you're not going to need a big locker, really. You're
going to need a changing room, are you? Just
not really.
Whip your bags off, chuck them on the side and dive in, don't you?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, and what if you can't swim? Let's say let's say you want to get into naturist swimming, right? Or skinny dipping for the more cultured. But you're not a very strong swimmer, right? Yeah. And they're all naturist swimming about, doing whatever naturists do up the deep end. Which is where this conversation's in danger of heading.
It is going to the deep end, yeah.
I don't know. Doing widths or doing lengths. I mean, even that sounds right.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't sound good. Next you'll be on strokes.
We're on a slippery slope here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the shallow end, no matter how good I was at swimming. I'd be heading for deeper water, you know.
It's not so bad for you. I'm 6 foot. I mean, that shallow end. It's all gonna. I'm not gonna.
3 foot, I could just crouch.
I'm not gonna hide nothing, am I? I've forgotten the point I was going to make now.
Oh yeah, don't make the point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this one stands up pretty well, I think. Right. Let's say you're not the most able swimmer, okay? But you're keen about this. You want to have a go at it. So you go down there. Let's say you have a flotation device like armbands or something. Would they be banned because once you're wearing armbands, you're not strictly in the spirit?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Is a float fine, but armbands are forbidden?
Yeah.
It's not as inclusive as they're making it out to be. I think I found a bit of a flaw with it there.
Yeah, you found a bit of a loophole in this.
Yeah. And do the same safety regulations apply? You know, no dive bombing and all the rest of it.
Can you wear a cap and goggles? You know.
Yeah. If you're doing backstroke, is someone going to shout, "Look, there's the Loch Ness monster"? Anyway,
the Loch Ness monster. Anyway.
Advice from the Mildenhall Naturist Swimming Club website includes: the club is very careful about confidentiality. Oh yeah, that's why they go swimming in a birthday suit. They never pass on information about members. Unless it is clearly needed for law enforcement. Oh yeah, there's old Scarface there, can't you tell?
He got it caught in his zipper so many times.
He's still got the handcuff marks on it. Naturalists are careful about confidentiality because it can cause problems if the wrong people hear about it.
Well, I think naturism and naturalism, I think you've got a problem there. If you turn up at Ely Pool expecting David Attenborough to be there, you're going to be thoroughly disappointed.
There's a documentary here about the water moccasin.
And here in Ely, nudists.
Okay, but let's. Wrong people here. About going to your first naturist swim can be terrifying. You have a lifetime of conditioning to overcome, and that is not easy. Well, yeah, I mean, there's vanity, isn't it? Yeah. Embarrassment ends sometime between starting to undress and about 2 minutes later. I guess that by that stage you're in the water and no one can see it. Worried about looks, figure, a blemish here, a mole there. Well, if someone's taken a mole in there, I would be a bit worried. Frightened that the lifeguards will mistake you for the inflatable and pack you away. Well, you'll fit right in. Naturists are no more attractive or ugly than everyone else. We have the same number of noses, toeses, and other body bits. Just as many of us have operation scars, bits missing, or bits in an unusual shape or size. We just don't think it any big deal what someone looks like. There might be somebody there that you know.
That could be embarrassing.
I'm sure there's probably quite a few people I know would probably go to this.
Yeah, the mother-in-law or something like that. You imagine you just going for
No, we don't want to imagine. And we're trying to... Come on, we've got a few dodgy words in this podcast as it is. It doesn't want to turn completely into horror.
Okay.
The legend of Boggy Creek, the Kraken. If there is, then they will be naturist, the same as you. So what's the worry? So, yeah, if you've got your meat and veg out, they've got theirs out. Female embarrassment. What is there to be embarrassed about? Well, I mean, I guess we can't really comment on that, can we?
No.
Male embarrassment. Now, this is where we can. There is one aspect of male anatomy which causes nervousness to a lot of blokes before their first swim. British naturism has been known to rather coyly call it visible embarrassment. Now, I think visible embarrassment is open to interpretation, isn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, I guess that means if someone's getting excited.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But does it mean a lack of endowment in its dormant state?
No, I don't think that.
Okay.
I think that's like you get unexpectedly,
So it's not a case of size matters?
No, I don't think that's the problem. I think
okay. So you're all right to get in there with your goldfish, even if every other bloke in there swimming around with jaws kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, What visible embarrassment? Is it like the cast of Baywatch or something that goes to these things?
I would assume not.
So are you likely to become visibly embarrassed?
Well, maybe you just catch your...
I mean, I know horses for courses.
Right,
we've all got our different tastes and all the rest of it. Yeah. I'm starting to wonder if this isn't an April Fool's joke, actually, from some of this wording. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's bona fide?
Well, it's not my cup of tea, surely. I wouldn't... I'm not a big swimmer anyway. I don't really enjoy swimming, but... I'm happy these events happen. I think people should have the opportunity, and it's something wonderfully eccentric and quite British that we have to organise it so well and put these events on so as not to embarrass people.
Well, like the naked cycle ride in Cambridge and stuff as well.
Exactly, and it's all a part of, I guess, being British, that the opportunity is there for everybody, not just an eccentric few. If you want to try it, you're happy to go along. But
well, it sounds to me like they're kind of trying to big this up a little bit, and trying to it's written in a way sort of almost as if to say it's not so bad. Come along, have a go, kind of thing. You might like it. But at the same time, they're sort of kind of contradicting that by saying, look, they have to be careful about who comes along. So, I mean, I don't know. You can't really publicise this and sort of not risk what they call the wrong people. Yeah. And yet, how do you attract the right people? Do you have a screening process?
Well, I guess hygiene is a factor as well, Dave, isn't it?
Yeah, but you could argue that about any swimming pool, couldn't you? I mean,
true,
you're not.
True.
I mean, whether you're going in your trunks or for the ladies a bathing suit, I mean, you're not really wearing, in a hygiene sense, anything that's going to keep anything in more, are you?
No, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. Naturist swims are less titillating than clothed ones, it claims here. After all, a swimsuit is just a proclamation that the wearer has something to hide and an invitation to imagine what it is.
But that's all clothes, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, and another thing, what's the main reason we wear clothes other than to sort of, hide our attributes from the world around us? It's warmth, isn't it?
Warmth, yeah. I guess you could say dignity.
And how cold swimming pool, Ely Paradise Pool is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, nothing's going to stand up, is it? It's going to be shrunk in and shrunk as close to the body as possible to try and preserve its warmth. Nobody's going to get excited here. I mean, you could have Pamela Anderson doing backstroke or something, and it's going to stay where it is.
It will be like an acorn in a nest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Pamela Anderson would do it for me these days, Dave. I don't know if you've seen her recently.
Oh, I don't know. It's probably no worse than some of the ones that attend. I mean, they don't tend to be the body beautiful, do they?
No.
I mean, they do tend to be having a few miles on the clock. Nothing wrong with the golden girls and boys, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. But, the physique perhaps isn't once what it was. It was probably more of a doner kebab than an Adonis kind of thing. People can't come to the swim unless they know about it, so publicity is essential. Their site says obviously that means dealings with the media, which they've done because it's in both local papers and now we're talking about it. We used to be very open and helpful to the media, but one visit soured relations badly. They did not honour the assurances and undertaking that they gave. Accordingly, we are now a lot more cautious and the undertakings required have both been revised and strengthened.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know really if we should approach these people. They make me a bit nervous anyway. We don't want an interview with these. No photography without the permission of the pool duty manager and the club duty officer. There is a space around a person known to psychologists as private space. If someone enters it, they make that person feel uncomfortable. The size of that space depends on the circumstances. For example, it's about 20 feet. Hang on, that'd make me nervous. Between family groups, on a beach, but touching whilst avoiding eye contact on a crowded train. It also depends on who it is. Close friends will typically stand closer together than strangers. Staring is also an invasion of private space. Respecting another person's private space is good manners. The club has a child protection policy in place. Well, I would hope no children are doing it, full stop, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess it's all adults, isn't it?
Yeah, I would hope so. Probably more middle-aged, sandal-wearing types that, go home and have nettle soup in the evenings and want to celebrate getting a meat and two veg or the puppies out in public and go for a swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Would you do it?
No, definitely not. No, I'm not a big swimmer. I mean, I wouldn't even go to a nudist beach. I don't even like skinny dipping.
What if you could smash through the waves like Duncan Goodhue? What if you were a tip-top swimmer? Would you then go?
No, even if I had a prime physique, six-pack and all the decent muscle tone, I'd still wouldn't do it, no.
Yeah, big old Zeppelin down there and, and back crack and sack done and, ready to go out there and look good.
Would you do it?
No way would I do it. I'm way too vain.
No. Well, I don't know about vanity. I just think it's like they say about personal space. It's like I wouldn't want someone to say, "Oh yeah, I saw Dave down the pool the other day." Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's true what they said about him on the red, white, and blue toilet wall. I go through life feeling generally inadequate as it is without confirming it publicly. I don't know.
That Cylon, what was it, Scar? They wouldn't know his name. They would just call him Scar. Yeah.
What distinguishing features, like stripe out of Gremlins?
Yeah.
He's got a mohawk runs down the middle. Oh, here he comes again, like Dave Chopper Mars. No, I wouldn't do it. I do think it's a little bit. I mean, each to their own, floats and boats. If they want to do it within their own group, personally, it wouldn't be my thing. If somebody wants to, like I said, if it's within their own sort of community, I don't see where it's harming anyone else, though.
No. I think, as I said, it's part of that British eccentricity. If you want to get out there, there's probably a club for it, and there's something for you. So, yeah, why not? If you enjoy it, do it. I'm not offended by it. I'm kind of proud that there's the chance that people can if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? It's a freedom, I guess, of sorts. Like I say, where do you hang your locker key? I don't know. Is goggles too far? I mean, we know that Ely Paradise Pool, they fill that thing with industrial strength chlorine. There's more chlorine in that than there is H2O, let's face it.
Yeah.
You're basically swimming in a big old chemical soup. So are swimming goggles, is that a taboo? I mean, what level... Jewellery? I mean, I don't know. I mean, what level does it go to? What if you've got a waterproof dressing on because of an injury? Does that kind of make you not proper hardcore? You're obviously not a naturist who drinks Carlin Black Label if you're going to go in there with a band-aid on kind of thing. I don't know. Perhaps I'm asking too many questions and thinking about it too much.
I'm not going to comment.
No.
I don't want to think about you thinking about it. We'll end up down there doing a Hot Wampa special.
No,
carrying a newspaper.
What defines an acceptable form of nudity? How comes when you're at school, if you mooned out the back window at some old dear with a shopping trolley, you got hauled in front of the headmaster for it? But if you blatantly jump in the you go dive bomb in the swimming pool with everything flailing in the wind, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Double standards, I think. But that story's made a splash locally, so we figured we'd touch on it. Anything else?
Yeah, sorry. It's just everything you say is a pun, like touching on it. But, no, I mean, I haven't really got any other local news, Dave. Have you got anything else?
No, that's the limit of my input on the local news front. So thank you to Joseph for his contribution and to the Mildenhall Naturist Club there for inadvertently finding yourself on a podcast.
Yeah, they won't know what hit them, will they?
Yeah, no, they won't do. Neither will anyone looking through the window from the sound of it.
What are we doing for the next one?
Well, that kind of conveniently ties in, doesn't it, to some stuff we've already discussed, really?
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Let's, it's Moon, I guess.
Yeah, we are going to do Moon.
Yeah. We could have done it for this one, but then that's 3 Sam Rockwells on a row, and, it kind of takes over the show, doesn't it, when that happens? So we've had a bit of a break with Enemy Mine. So, yeah, I mean, I guess for episode 44 will be Moon.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of nice little nuggets that I'd like to share for Moon when it comes out, so... Yeah,
we've had enough nuggets shared in this episode, I think.
Yeah, luckily not an Ely pool because that's never funny.
No? Yeah, okay. We'll kind of leave that where it is then, and we'll see you in a fortnight. We might be doing specials or something, I don't know.
There are some interviews coming up, so.
Yeah, what happened with the Amberoo one?
She's just been really busy, so it's just a case of catching her at the right time, and she's not busy in costume all the time, if that's what people might think. But she's obviously got her own day job, and
it's not an alter ego.
No, so, that'd be good to be a professional cosplayer, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, we'll bring that to our listeners when we can. The speculation is that we do have a Last Jedi trailer coming up with Celebration and what have you. I mean, and let's face it, that's going to be on YouTube 5 minutes after the convention, isn't it?
Yeah.
So possibly we might do a special on that if there's a trailer, whether we both do it, whether it's just me available, or quite how that works out, we don't know. So that's, if that's coming this month, we don't know. If it's coming, we'll perhaps have a look at that. Otherwise, in a fortnight, it's episode 43, Moon. Whatever Star Wars stories there are out there, we might be able to provide you with an update about how Edie's posh skinny dipping's gone. Who knows? Get your local news in. We've had a list of, a kind of tourist guide to Oklahoma sent to us, and we've featured that. If you've got a list for where you live, get it sent in to us, and we'll try and do our best.
Well, yeah, and I totally agree with Dave. We've had some look. If you're in Burkina Faso or Mongolia or wherever, yeah, get your news over to us.
I bet there's places in the world that make Rocky Mountain oysters look tame.
I bet there are, yeah. Different creatures as well. I'm sure, yeah. How about your strange cuisine? That's always a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's always a great one to go over. See what we can squeeze out of that. Yeah, so that'll be us in a fortnight. So take care and see you then.
Bye.